The rotor needs to be screwed into the front of the transmission drive shaft, and to do this I have to bore and tap the end. I do not have access to a lathe in my shop, so I did not have the video of boring the hole, but here it is in my vise getting ready to cut the threads. I decided to go with a 5/16 national course thread, which is very close to the original metric screw. I have two taps. One is a normal taper tap and the other one is a bottom tap to cut the threads very close to the bottom of the blind hole. I use my calipers to validate how deep the hole is so I know when to stop cutting the threads. Here you can see it is a bit over 1 1/8 inch deep, and comparing it to the tap, it is very close to the full tap length. It is very important that a good lube is used when cutting threads. Failure to use a lubricant significantly increases the likelihood of breaking the tap as well as wearing it out much faster. I use Tap Magic Extra Foamy Cutting Fluid. When starting to tap a deep hole, it is very important that you ensure the tap is going in straight. I go very slow for the first few threads and visually check it using a straight edge. With the typical hand tap, it is important to go backwards about every quarter turn to clear the chips. This is the cutting edge of the tap, and after 1/4 turn there are chips built up on this edge that, if not cleared, could cause the tap to seize in the bore, destroying the tap and the piece you're working on. After tapping down about halfway, I extract the tap to add a little more lube. Now I chuck up the bottom tap and run it all the way down. You could make your own bottom tap by grinding most of the tapered end off of a normal tap, but be careful not to overheat it. As you can see, the bottom tap went down about another 1/4 inch. Off camera, I am using compressed air to blow everything out of the hole. Testing with a screw indicated that there are still some debris stuck in the threads, so I cleaned up the tap and ran it through again. Blowing it out once more and it goes almost all the way down, so I repeat it one more time using WD-40 to loosen up the sticky lube, and now I just need to remember to order the socket head screw that's going to go into this hole. Now it is time to clean up those two countersunk holes in the mounting plate. The original countersink I used was one that was worn out and somebody attempted to sharpen. It was not sharp and chunked out the holes. I found one reasonably priced on eBay and it did a good job of cleaning up the holes, but it was too small and left a ridge like a counterbore. Here it is at another angle showing the counterbore ridge, and I am using a small stone to grind the ridge down to match the taper. And now showing the 2 countersunk holes dressed up nicely and ready to go. Now assembled with the rotor installed, and it looks like I have just enough clearance between the chippers and the screws. Rotating around to the other side, I have my shim stock ready to see if I picked the right size. If not shimmed properly to fit the bearing, then it will result in an off-balance load on the bearing, significantly reducing its lifespan and possibly causing a significant amount of vibration. I formed the shim to closely match the diameter of the bearing, and now to see how difficult it is to install. It took a lot of effort, and I was concerned that maybe it was too thick, but it finally did slide in. Coming up later, you'll see there's no issue with getting the shim in place. I am thinking of using a locking compound to essentially glue it to the hub on the rotor. Now a review of how this thing works. As the rotor turns, you can see the 4 blades of the shredder that chews up small branches and leaves. I am using the blower blades to rotate it. These blades are what forces all of the debris out of the housing. Now around to the other side, we can see the transmission. This is the motor mounting bracket that swivels to allow adjusting belt tension. This collar is what the rotor hub tightens up against, and I'm thinking it will be replaced with a thinner welded-on plate. I do not know exactly where that plate should be located, since I do not yet have the screw that attaches the rotor. The collar on the back of the drive shaft controls the space between the rotor and the mounting bracket. Be sure to subscribe to be notified when the next part of this project is published.